This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout, freebets.com. Delighted to be joined with Andy Clarke. We're here at a massive presser. Fabio Wardley takes on Frazer Clarke and the start of the Bad Blood series for Sky. Really looking forward to this fight, and I'm sure you echo that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They managed to keep this one quite quiet actually, because I didn't actually know about this. I didn't know this had been made until I went to Fight Week last week, and I don't kind of delve that deep into what may or may not be coming up. I just wait to see what's actually going to happen most of the time, but it's great to get it across the line because we all know what happened last year with the purse bids and all the back and forth there, so that's built it to a higher level than it would have been. And a British Commonwealth heavyweight title fight's always got a great ring to it anyway. Sunday, that's going to be interesting on a bank holiday weekend, but there's some proper strategy behind that. So I've got high hopes for this. I've always got high hopes for any fight, but for this I really have, because there's so many ingredients to it. They came into Sky to do the gloves are off on Monday, Fabio and Frazer, and I wasn't there, but I was told just now by one of my colleagues who's produced many of those that it's gone straight into his top 3 all time. And it doesn't really surprise me, because you've got two guys who are confident, they won't take a backward step, they've got plenty to say, they've got some wit, some intelligence about them too, so it's just all round a great mix. And then you look at Fabio coming through white collar, has actually never lost. He won his 4 white collar fights and now undefeated as a pro, whereas Frazer had that long international amateur career, crowned by a bronze medal at the Olympics. So it's two different routes into the sport, and I know that Frazer kind of feels like he's got the honour of amateur boxing to uphold here almost by beating Fabio Wardley. It's great. It's got a lot going for it, this.
Although we want to see fights instantly, does it show how much that a fight can build when there is a little bit of history on the line? You know, if we had it in May or whenever the purse bids were called, we all know what happened there. It wouldn't have been as big as it is now. So do you feel like it does help when sometimes fights are let to go and let to sort of grow to be even bigger than they are?
Yeah, it definitely can. It definitely can. And what happened around it wasn't really what anybody really wanted, that whole kind of shakedown, that whole fallout. But you do in boxing a lot of the time just have to think to yourself, like every cloud, because so often that does happen. Something that at the time seemed a bit catastrophic, a little bit further down the line, it can actually turn out to have been a good thing. And you hear in boxing, you hear people say everything happens for a reason a lot, don't you? Yeah. More so than in any other kind of business or walk of life, I would say, because it is unpredictable, and sometimes something that happens that appeared bad at the time, a little bit further down the track, it appears like there was some kind of grand, universal, spiritual plan behind it, without wishing to get too deep about things. But this is one of those situations, because it wouldn't have attracted this amount of attention if they'd done it last year. Frazer Clarke, although he was beside himself at the time, has got some more rounds under his belt now, so he is better equipped to deal with it now. That's another fact. Fabio's had that experience in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I love it.
I don't know how much you look into betting odds, but obviously Fabio Wardley opened up as the favourite for this. Bit crazy to think when you look at it on paper and you look at a guy that come from white collar, then a guy who's one of the longest serving amateurs at GB, Olympic bronze medalist, and he's actually the underdog in this fight. A bit crazy to think that.
I mean, you can look at it from both sides, can't you? Because in terms of pure boxing experience, Frazer's got a lot more than Fabio because of the GB background and the long amateur career, a lot more. And he's boxed some absolutely top operators in the amateurs. But Fabio's got more pro boxing experience, and that matters. You know, he's beaten everybody who's been put before him, and a lot of the time he's beaten them quite easily, to the point where it took me a while to be convinced by him, because I just wondered whether he's getting people at the right time. There were a few wins that just seemed a bit odd, but he just keeps winning and keeps winning. So now, I am convinced. But that's what makes it really, really interesting, because how do you really pick a favourite for this? I think you do have to go on body of professional work, and if you do that, then Wardley as the champion, and with the record he's got, I think you correctly have to install him as favourite. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you think he'll win, because it's like rankings, isn't it? You can have a kind of criteria by which you rank fighters, which means that you'll put one fighter above another. But then if you're asked the question of who's going to win, you might say the one who's lower down. It's an imperfect science.
I did just want to quickly touch on the past weekend, Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Azeez. You were there, a great fight, and I'm sure you sort of enjoyed it as well, watching it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was really, it was fantastic, and it was everything we hoped it would be, everything we were really confident it would be. Buatsi was just a little bit ahead, kind of all the way through. Dan tried to put his foot to the floor late on. He got some momentum going in that 9th round. The 10th was close, and then it went away from him at the end. There were the 2 knockdowns, which were unfortunate, but they were started by punches, so the referee has to call them. If there's a problem with the canvas, that the referee doesn't really have any control over that. Yeah,
I was going to say, what did you make of the canvas? Because I think it was the end of round 7. We did see Larry Kandeo throw the towel in to sort of wipe it. A bit of confusion there, but what did you make of the canvas? There's a lot of complaints online and ringside of how sort of slippery it was, and they both admitted it in the post-fight presser as well.
Yeah, I think what it's down to is I'd imagine it's the transfer, it's the logos, and sometimes you'll see trainers go into a ring before a fight and they'll kind of rough them up as best they can. That's a difficult thing to do with a Mike Goodall ring, because if you go in there and try and do that, Mike will take you out basically. I remember seeing a load of dancers get in the ring to rehearse in Monaco before a fight night there was, and Goodall was out of the room and they scuffed up his canvas and he went absolutely mental. Anyway, that's by the by. But yeah, it could be a problem, but when you get water on it, I spoke to Tasha after the fight, Tasha Jonas, and she, Buatsi spits quite a lot. Yeah. Azeez's shorts were kind of quite soaked at one point, and it all just drips off, and then the sweat as well. So it's something you have to look out for. So it was unfortunate, because you don't ever want to be talking about something like that. But you could see in the final round there that Buatsi put the hammer down a bit, and he was a worthy winner. But I do feel like Azeez will definitely come back the stronger for that, because when you've never been beaten, you ask people questions, and that's the first time that someone's kind of had enough answers to beat him. But then you just learn how to ask those questions in a slightly different way. So yeah, we'll be seeing Azeez again at a good level. I don't think he'll feel the need to drop off and have a getting back in the saddle fight. I think we'll see him back at a really respectable level in his next fight, probably.
Well, one thing I did want to talk to you about, I spoke to you on Friday afternoon, and fast forward 24 hours from then, I didn't think so much could change. The undisputed fight between Fury Usyk off, and then now they had a rearranged date of May 18th. Look, happy, also gutted that we're not going to see it, I suppose, next week, but happy that it's been a quick turnaround of the rearrangement, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was chaos, wasn't it? Because about 2 hours after we spoke, it was that conversation was immediately out of date, and it just, your initial reaction is your heart just sinks, because you're just looking forward to it so much, and then you start to wonder what's going to happen now, basically. And there's so many conspiracy theories and all the rest of it, and this fight's doomed and cursed, and I just don't ever really go in for them. I'm a sort of painfully rational, logical person, and the simplest explanation for something is almost always the right one. And the simplest explanation here is that he got cut in sparring, not that he cut himself, or that he got cut in sparring. And I'm sure they would have looked at it and thought to themselves, can we patch this up and just go through with it anyway? But it turned out he couldn't. But then getting another date again so quickly is good, because it just it ended all of those conversations. And of course there'll still be people out there who'll be sceptical that it'll happen, and I understand it, because it was going to be the 23rd of December and then it was going to be the 17th of February. But I have no reason personally to feel like it's not going to happen. I just, why wouldn't it happen? There's so much money to be made by the fighters. The only reason would be if Fury just doesn't want it. But I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. And I know there were rumours about his camp, but where do these rumours come from?
I mean, I can't remember who I was speaking to, but apparently that they wouldn't have been shocked if it came from the Fury camp to try and sort of cause, because I think apparently they tried to do that in Wilder 2 as well. I don't know if you remember that, but they tried all these things.
Yeah, no, I've heard those stories as well about how the film crew came up and Fury just put on a limp for an entire week that they were there to try and convince them that something was wrong. So when you hear rumours coming out of camps, I just don't pay any attention to it at all, because I'm not there, I haven't seen it, I don't know. And boxing's, it's one of these. I read a great line in a book a while ago called Years of the Locust. If people want to read a really interesting boxing book, get your hands on it, it's great. But there's a really good line on it where a guy describes boxing as being a naked eye universe. And what he means is you can only trust what you see. Never mind what someone tells you happened, what you see. And I stick by that. So yeah, you know, rumours are rumours and they're fun, and I read them and I enjoy them, but that's all they are. So I'm confident. We'll see it. We'll see it on May the 18th, and yeah, I can't wait. You know, but we will all get a bit nervous as it ticks down to the fight night, because you know that's human, isn't it?
I did want to ask you on those conspiracies, because obviously on that call with Ariel Helwani and Usyk and Klimas, Turki Al-Sheikh talked about a $10 million like pull-out clause. Like if either Fury or Usyk pull out, they have to pay $10 million to whoever, like to Fury or Usyk. What do you make of that? And a little bit unfair on Usyk, do you think, considering it's not his fault that Fury got cut?
I read something this morning from Azeez saying that it was them who insisted on that. And I guess it has to be a two-way clause, or it's just kind of a bit weird. I mean, I kind of feel like that's sort of more for us than it is for the boxing public than it is for them, because I think they probably realise that they look at social media, they know what people are saying and all the kind of theories and the rumour mill, and they'll probably just want to do something to try and make it clear to people, look, this is going to happen. So I do feel like that is more, it's more of a kind of PR move almost, that's for the fans more than the fighters.
And I know we're not experts on cuts, you know, I'm not a cutsman, neither are you, but when you see a cut that is sort of the way it is, quite open, quite deep, worried that it could be all, do you think it could be all healed by May the 18th?
You can only think that they've had somebody look at it, and the medical verdict is that they feel like it's going to be fine. Because with something like that, it was kind of raising his eyebrow to make sure that you could get a really good look at it, and that will stretch it out a bit. So it's kind of hard to know how deep it is. You know, Fury will know himself whether he's a quick healer or whether he's not, stuff like that. So I feel like the Saudi Arabians are sensible. They'll realise there's no point trying to rush this, because otherwise it will open up again in sparring, and then it will get kicked back again, and then people really will start to believe that it's never going to happen. So yeah, you just have to trust that they take an advice on that. You have to give people credit for being professional and competent, and people are very quick not to at times, because they kind of see what they want to see and they hear what they want to hear. But why would they not want this to happen? You know, why? So they've looked at it and they've decided, May the 18th is doable, let's go then.
Absolutely. Andy, just want to say thank you for taking time to speak to me. Really, really good to catch up with you, and hopefully this interview doesn't become out of date in the next couple of hours. Also did want to give a shout out to your book, The Knockout, coming out May 30th. Pre-order link will be in the description, but yeah, appreciate your time, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.